Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Nightingale Gypsy, and today we are going to be talking about my piercing nightmares. Now, my very first piercing was when I was 12 years old. So my very first piercing was actually my belly button ring. I went to a place about 30 minutes from my house. I ended up going and the guy pierced it, and instead of putting a regular ring in, he put one of the rings that close with just one ball. And the ball was actually way too big for the ring, so he ended up forcing it on there, and we had no idea because I was actually numbed before they had done the piercing. I go home, and I would say about 3 weeks later, we end up going back to the shop. They tell me it's infected, so it needs to come out. At this point, I'm like, okay, because they're wanting to charge us like $20 to take it out. We go home, and my mom is prying at this ball, trying to get it off. We have no idea that it's actually way too big to be on that ring, so he forced it on there. My mom has to take me back to the shop, and she asks for the owner. The owner looks at it and he's like, okay, we need to cut this off because it's not gonna come off. The guy put the wrong ball on there. And I'm like, what do you mean cut it off? Do you have to cut my skin? He's like, oh no, we'll have to just clip the bar. He ends up going and getting what looks like a pair of pliers, and he clamps it with that, and he's literally just prying at this ball, and it's tearing at my skin. It actually tore my belly button on the sides, and it hurt really bad. They finally get the ball off, they finally get the ring out. It's bleeding pretty bad, so they clean it with the alcohol wipe and put a band-aid on it, and we go home. Well, now I'm left with a giant scar. My next piercing was actually when I was 14. My mom actually wanted to pierce my nose, but she asked me if I wanted it done. I'm like, yeah. And then she tells me that she's not taking me to a shop, that she's actually going to do it herself. Not thinking nothing of it. I watched her pierce my sister's nose. Then she takes an earring, and I'm like, is that an earring? And she just tells me to sit still, and I'm telling her no, I don't want it done if she's not going to pierce it with a needle. She actually ends up piercing it anyway with this earring, and it gets stuck halfway through, so all you hear is this pop, and I'm sitting there in pain, and I'm crying, and I'm telling her to take it out of my nose, to stop. So she tells me no, I'm gonna sit still, and she's gonna finish. So she pushes it through the rest of the way, and this takes her a good 1.5 to 2 minutes. Well, finally you hear another pop. It was terrible. Well, I'm like, okay, well, I never want any more piercings again. I'm done with this. But I am outside, so I do apologize about that. When I turn 14, I do believe, I get the bright idea, I'm gonna try to get my belly button pierced again. And mind you, I had a good scar. The owner is actually a piercer, so we asked him if he could do it. And he looks at me and tells me that yes, I do have a scar, but it's not very bad, that he can actually pierce through it and it'll make it look better. So he actually takes me into the back. He tells my mom to stay out front, that no one can go back with me, and he pierces my belly button ring. I go home and I have this belly ring for about 3 months, and then it pushes itself out of my skin. And I'm not talking like it was ripped out of my skin. It literally pushed itself through the skin until one day I woke up and it literally was just, my skin was split and this belly ring was laying on my bed. So then at 15, I go and I get my snake bites done, and the guy pierces this one down lower than the other. There's actually little holes there still, because once you have them in for so long and they heal, you do have permanent little holes for your lip rings or your eyebrow or whatever. I was okay with that. It wasn't too bad. It was off-centered, but it wasn't too bad. Well, then I go back and I get my Monroe done, and that one was actually pierced perfect. Like, he did a great job. At 16, I decided I want my eyebrow pierced, and I'm in school, so I always had bangs to the right. They weren't allowed to have piercings in my school, but I knew I could hide it under my bangs. So my dad takes me because my mom refuses to, and I get my eyebrow pierced on my birthday, I do believe. That actually healed great. It healed, wonderfully. Then I go to school somehow my teacher saw my Monroe. After it was healed, I had a very short bar in, and I could hide it as long as I didn't smile or anything. I would always hide it underneath my tongue or in the side of my cheeks whenever a teacher come around, and none of them ever really saw it. So I don't know how this teacher did, but they made me take it out and leave it out. So by the end of the day, it was closed. And I did not have another one because they took these ones too. But my snake bites actually were healed to the point where they wouldn't seal up. I don't know why my Monroe did. They didn't notice my eyebrow ring, thankfully. Once my eyebrow was healed, I changed out the bar. And I fell asleep that night thinking that I had put it in properly, I had screwed it on properly. I did not. The ball ended up coming undone in my sleep and the bar came out. So at this point, I wanted my eyebrow ring back, but I had to wait until it healed because, you know, it was sealed up and they didn't want to reopen it right away because they were afraid of an infection. Ended up getting it re-pierced again, and this time my mom takes me. This actually gets infected, just like they were afraid of it doing before. So I had to take that one out. I got this done on the same exact side, on my right side. I go to the same place once again. So my dad takes me on my 18th birthday to get it redone because it's something I really, really wanted, especially for my birthday. And it kind of become a tradition. Every time my birthday rolled around, I got a new piercing. This guy acts cool, he acts professional. He's asking me, you know, what's my name, where I'm from, you know, just small talk, that kind of thing. He pierces my eyebrow, but before he pierced it all the way through, he kind of took a second and stopped. And it freaked me out because none of the piercers before had done that. So I'm like, why is he hesitating? So I ask him if he's okay, if everything's good, and he says yes, everything's fine. And he pierces it through the rest of the way, puts the jewelry in. He's like, okay, you're good to go. I leave, and the piercer had texted me and said, thank you for your business, thank you for coming in, we really appreciate beautiful girls like you coming in and getting piercings. And I'm like, okay, it's a compliment. So I'm not really thinking nothing of it, so it didn't really bother me. You know, I'm hanging out at my sister's house and I get a text from the piercer, is there any way that I can tell you a secret? And I'm just like, sure. So he then proceeds to tell me that he was extremely nervous piercing my eyebrow, and that the reason he hesitated was because he was shaking so bad. He was afraid that he was gonna screw up my eyebrow because he was too busy being distracted by my looks. I'm like, okay, this is a nightmare. This guy literally could have stabbed my eye out. He could have like punctured the needle through my face in the wrong way. I could have been mutilated. Thankfully, he did not hurt me. Thankfully, the piercing went good. This healed good. I had my eyebrow until I was 19, I do believe, because I started working at Walmart, and at the time, Walmart did not allow piercings. So I had to take out my snake bites, I had to take out my tongue ring, I had to take out my Monroe, and my eyebrow. Well, my eyebrow healed instantly. My tongue actually almost sealed up, so I had put a clear one in. A clear ring in. I actually got in trouble every day and rid up for it, but I didn't care. I actually was pregnant at the time. I took my snake bites and my Monroe out. Those actually ended up healing because I ended up leaving them out overnight, and my body, I guess, rejects metal. So it healed instantly. I was on maternity leave, and then, well, finally, I am 22 now. So I went back recently. I went and got my eyebrow pierced with my husband. It's a completely different piercer now. We actually went and got our eyebrows pierced together for our anniversary. That was actually February 8th. And then I also got my Monroe pierced, but as you can see, I don't have that done. This is actually probably the worst piercing I had ever had. It actually was a complete nightmare other than the eyebrow ring. I went in, hey dude, is there any way that you could pierce my Monroe and get it through the same exact spot? He's like, oh yeah, we can get it through the same exact spot. Okay, let's do it. So he ends up going and piercing it, and it was numbed. He numbed it. So I didn't feel what he had done. Well, the next day, I literally couldn't even open my mouth. This ring was catching on my teeth, and it was pulling, and it was just absolutely terrible. So I actually ended up having to go back to the shop and tell him that I needed him to take a look at it. So he looks at it, and he's like, all right, well, it's pierced straight through. the ring was literally completely crooked. Okay, it's not pierced straight through. Is there anything you can do to fix this? Because I literally can't even open my mouth hardly. I can barely talk. Like, I was having to force the ring with my teeth by pressing down on my lip just to keep the ring from hitting and grabbing on my teeth. It turns out that he actually punctured a nerve inside of my lip. Why I couldn't feel after he had pierced it for like 2 days. I had absolutely no feeling other than when it would catch on my tooth and it would hurt my tooth. It wasn't really hurting my lip. So for 2 days it was completely numb, and I didn't know why. And this dude's supposed to be a professional. Now this is a completely different shop than the last place I had went to, but not only did he pierce it crooked, he pierced it too low, but he pierced through a nerve. I know that is the risk with any piercing that you go and get. There's a chance that it could pierce through a nerve. So I don't completely blame him 100%. I'm just now starting to get feeling back into my lip, and it's been, you know, it's just now March 8th. It's still a little numb, but I'm starting to get feeling back into it. But as I said, I do not blame him. You know, it's not fully his fault. He can't see what veins are there. You know, those are actually all my piercing nightmares, everything that went wrong. So the only other thing I wanted to tell you guys that is not a piercing issue, I was actually 15 and I was in Michigan on vacation at the time with my mother visiting family, and this guy offered my mom to do her tattoo because she wanted this really long, really pretty dragon tattoo going down from her hip, you know, down her leg. So this guy's like, oh yeah, I'm a tattoo artist, I can do it. We're just like, okay, you know, why not? I begged my mom to get a tattoo that I'd actually drawn out, and it's for my Uncle Timmy, who did pass away when I was 13. He meant a lot to me, and I really wanted something to remember him by. I wanted this tattoo done, so I was eager, you know, to get it done. I was willing to do anything. So my mom, she trades her GPS at $150 to this guy to do a tattoo on both of us. He's like, okay, well, let's go down to the basement. And like I said, we're at my uncle's house. We're like, you don't have a shop? Thought you were a tattoo artist. And he's like, oh no, I just do it from the home. He can do it here. I got my stuff in the car. Let's go downstairs. Let's do this. My mom's drunk. I'm just like, all right, well, I'm eager to get it done. I believe him. You know, I'm gonna watch my mom get her tattoo done first. Well, he does her tattoo and it actually looks good at the time. I was really tired. She was really tired. Everybody was. You know, her tattoo looked good, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna let him do it. So he ends up doing the tattoo on my wrist, and he completely screws this tattoo up. Well, the very first night, this looks good because I'm 15 and I just got a tattoo. I'm not really thinking nothing of it. The next day, I noticed that the writing is all jagged, and I noticed that there's blue all around my entire lower arm right here. He didn't tattoo that. So he had actually busted ink underneath my skin, and I don't know how he managed to do it. So I went to a tattoo artist here in Tennessee, and he took a look at it and he's like, okay, well, who did your tattoo? You know, because it's illegal for a minor to get a tattoo in Tennessee, no matter parents' permission or not. But I guess it wasn't in Michigan because a lot of kids had tattoos. I don't know. My mom tells him what happened, and he's like, well, you're stupid for one, and your daughter's stupid for getting it done too, and it's gonna have to be fixed. He's like, I can fix it for you, but not until she's 18. And he wanted so much money, and he wanted to cover it up. All right, well, when I'm 18, I'll just get a cover up and I'll get this same tattoo done somewhere else, but I really wanted it where it was. So then when I turn 18, I actually go to get my daughter's name tattooed on me, and I get her butterfly done right here. I go to this guy down here who's really, really good. He did my daughter's tattoo, and then he did the tattoo on my wrist, and this one is actually a matching tattoo with my mother. So he ends up doing both of those, and I have him take a look at my tattoo, and he ends up telling me that he can fix it. And I'm like, if you can fix it, do it. And then we can do a cover up if that doesn't work. And he didn't charge me an arm and a leg like the other dude. He charged me like $170. I'm not really sure, but it wasn't too much. The other guy wanted like $800 just to fix this. So he turned this tattoo completely around and it looks absolutely stunning. That's all for today, guys. That's all my piercing nightmares. That's the nightmare behind my tattoo. I just want to say thank you guys for watching this video. Please hit that like and subscribe button if you are wanting to see future content and more videos. I will be uploading every Thursday and every Saturday. So I will see you guys then, and our next video is actually going to be a surprise. So see you guys.